Afternoon. Mic check, everybody here, out there, all good? All right, welcome to Coach Pruitt's weekly press conference. Coach will make an opening statement, and then we'll take your questions. A reminder, hit the raise your hand function, and also please mute your line. Turn it over to Coach now.
You know, going back and reviewing the Kentucky game, there's a lot of things that I said after the game really held true. You look at, start with defensively. You know, I don't know exactly what the yardage was the first half, but it was very small. I know there was 4 first downs that Kentucky made. When you look at the second half, they hit us a couple of times, I think 3 or 4 times on some slants. But if you go back and look, you know, there was a lot more yards after contact. We didn't fit the runs near as well, and was very disappointing. Was really excited the way we played the first half. The second half didn't play as well as we would like to offensively. We had more guys make our War Daddy board this week, which we feel like is guys that play the right way. Probably had more efficient plays than we've had in any week during the season, but it all goes back to turnovers. In the last 6 quarters, we've turned the ball over 7 times, and there's no way you can beat anybody doing that, especially when you're turning it over and they're scoring touchdowns with it. They're in field position. I think in the last 6 quarters, we've given up really 30 points while the defense has allowed 2 first downs. So obviously the number one priority is taking care of the football, and we're not doing that. So we've got to fix it, and we'll continue to work hard to do that. Look at special teams. You know, I thought we had a chance to block a punt Saturday. We just missed it. We did field all the punts, which was critical in that game. If you look at Kentucky's punter, you know, I think he was averaging 48 yards a punt. We fielded the punts, but we didn't take advantage of a chance to block a punt, and we didn't punt the ball very good there. So we lost some vertical field position. So went back and to me had a good practice last night. Probably one of the better practices we've had in quite some time, which was good to see. We've got to get ready for a really good Alabama team this week. You look at them offensively, one of the most explosive teams in college football, probably the most explosive team in college football. Really, really good up front. One of the better offensive lines that I've seen in college football, probably in my career. They obviously have dynamic playmakers on the outside, 2 really good runners, play multiple tight ends, 4 or 5 different tight ends, and Mac Jones is being as efficient as any quarterback that I've seen in this conference. Playing really well there. Defensively, they have lots of talent up front. They've got talent in the back end, got really good linebackers. They've given up some plays a little bit this year, but I think some of it's circumstance. If you watch them offensively, they're scoring so fast. They have to play a lot of snaps on defense, which is a little bit different. It's probably been the same the last couple of years there. They've scored a lot, scored a lot of points and done it really quickly, which is probably different than when the years that I coached there. The style of play is totally different, so they're having to play more snaps, but got a really good return game and got good specialists, so it'll definitely be a challenge for us this week, and we really got to focus on ourselves. You know, yesterday I decided to make a change at the D-line position. Coach Brumbaugh done a really nice job for us. He worked his tail off. Sometimes from a philosophical standpoint, things are just not a fit, and it just didn't work out for us, so I decided to do that, and I'm going to coach the defensive line for the rest of the season. I'll take any questions.
All right, questions. We'll start with David Pascal, then we'll go to David Owen. Jeremy, can you just talk about the quarterback situation? Is that going to be open all week, and could it even be where it's a game time decision as far as the starter?
Well, I've talked about it a little bit in the past. Obviously there's 3 or 4 plays in a game that Jarrett would like to have back, right? Talked about them Saturday after the game. Same thing with JT. When you look at Brian and Harrison, both of these guys were very limited in fall camp, which is one of the reasons that, we've continued to have these scrimmages on Sunday night to try to get these guys kind of caught up, just to give them an opportunity. There's nothing like live action, and we had a scrimmage last night, and both of these guys took reps. So we'll continue to evaluate that position as the week goes.
And then as a quick follow, I know it's kind of difficult to gauge with all the turnovers, but you obviously played a role in helping Alabama create what it's been able to do under Nick. And last year you kind of showed tangible evidence that y'all were improving. Do you see any evidence that going into this year's Alabama game you are continuing to improve as a program?
No, absolutely. If you look at where we were when we got here, okay, and where we're at right now, I understand that in this business everything's based off wins and losses, which that's what counts, right? Unfortunately, we got beat last week and got beat soundly by a good football team. But if you look at the last 6 quarters, just turning the football over, 7 turnovers in 6 quarters, it doesn't matter who you play. You're not going to have a chance. The number one thing is the ball. It's the thing that we stress the most. In the first 2 games, we took care of the ball. In the first half against Georgia, we took care of the ball. The last 6 quarters, we have not. And our margin of error is not big enough to overcome those situations. So we've got to play better in all areas. And hey, like I said, last night was one of our better practices. Our kids have good attitudes. They understand the mistakes that we have made and the things that we need to correct, and they're working hard to do that.
Jeremy, on Jimmy, why make the move now? And when you talk about philosophical differences, what sort of changed from January or February until now?
Well, if it's not working out, it's better just to do it right now. Me and Jimmy had a really good conversation, and it's unfortunately, but probably because of the COVID circumstance, when you're a new coach and you don't have a chance to be around your players from March, April, May, and then limited in June, puts you at a disadvantage. And this is no knock on Jimmy as a coach whatsoever. He is one of the most knowledgeable guys I've been around, and he'll do a good job wherever he goes. And just something that I felt like that we needed to do, and we did it.
All right, Teresa Walker, then Blake Topmeyer.
Coach, with the turnovers, how do you work on fixing those, trying to get Jared maybe not to press, maybe overcompensate, and then also the offensive line? Are you, with the pressure and the sacks that they're giving up on the line, how do you get some improvement there as well?
Well, here's the thing about protecting the quarterback. Everybody always starts with the offensive line, but there's times that we have tight ends in protection. There's times we have running backs in protection, and there's different ways you can do that. So it's a little bit of a combination of things. If you have a wide receiver that runs the wrong route and he's your hot read, those things play into it. So we've made enough mistakes all around offensively that we've got to fix it, clean it up, and execute at a higher level. But regardless, we have to take care of the football.
Blake.
Yeah, Jeremy, is there going to be a graduate assistant or an analyst helping you out coaching the defensive line? And then also, Any concern that your focus with that position will take your attention away from other areas that might need your attention?
No, I've been bouncing around, helping a lot of different positions this entire camp. Just from a standpoint of because it's not been a normal camp, or a normal season. We've had guys in and out, and trying to figure out, just for instance, like Morvin Joseph, right? So Morvin Joseph worked at inside linebacker last night. He's still going to rush the quarterback on third down some, but you know, if this would have been a normal camp, he would have already done that. Would have had enough practices for him to work both spots. And we've had several guys that's had to do that. Keyshawn Lawrence has bounced from corner to safety, back to corner. So just trying to spend a lot of one-on-one time with young players. I've been doing this all camp anyhow, and then going to the offensive side. So no, I've got plenty of help from a GA standpoint. We'll be fine.
All right, Austin Price, then Trey Wallace.
Hey, Coach, I know early in the season you talked specifically about some of the players, not being in the best condition just because they had to miss time in fall camp, and that's why you were doing a lot of rotating. But there's been a couple of instances in the last couple of games where you guys have put together some solid drives, and then the offensive line combination has changed the following drive, and it's not had as much success. What goes into that thought process, and would you like to find, a set 5 that you could play on most downs?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a position that the more continuity you have, the better the group plays. If you look at the first game of the year, we probably played more guys. But Riley Locklear's been hurt. Jameer Johnson's been hurt. Wanye got hurt against Georgia last week. So as we've had a few guys that's got some bumps or bruises, we've had to be able to move guys around, and that's some of the reason we've done that.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Jeremy, yesterday's let go of Jimmy Brumbaugh and going back and you looking at tape, would you say that other position coaches or jobs are on the line this season as well? Not just Jimmy Brumbaugh's from yesterday, but other positions that maybe you're making mistakes that you might not like. How do you go about that during the season now?
Well, I think if you look at just this game period, whether it's college, whether it's pro, whether it's high school, right? I would say everybody's job's on the line, right? It's about how you perform. So I think everybody that gets in this business, we all understand the circumstances surrounding it. So it's just part of it.
We'll go to Gustavo, then Rob Lewis.
Pruitt, you said that we had a good practice on Sunday. Did Harrison Bailey join that practice? And how do you address his game on Saturday? He completed 25% of his passes. How do you say about Harrison Bailey?
Well, when we put him in, he hadn't taken any reps for the Kentucky game plan, so we just called plays that we knew that he would know. So again, I can't reiterate enough about when it comes to Harrison about the lack of opportunity that he got during fall camp. He's getting more and more reps. When you get ready to play a game, you really, you work one quarterback, you have a backup, and then the third team guy kind of, if you can get a rep or two in there, you do it. But, with Harrison, we're going to continue to work him and try to develop him. Same thing with Brian, JT, all of them, really. But there's only one ball. It's not camp. We're not in camp now. We're in the season, so we've got to prepare for our opponents, which is why we're having these extra things, like on Sunday night. And probably if we can stay healthy, we'll continue to do some of this maybe on the Tuesdays and Wednesdays practices as well.
Coach, you talked about having to shift a lot of guys around up front. Where are you at health-wise this week with Jerome Carbon and Wanye? Do you know yet about their status?
Yeah, and I didn't even mention Jerome the other day. Jerome started the first game, and has a chance to be a really good player for us. He didn't play against he got hurt against Missouri. He didn't play against Georgia, and I think last night he's moving around much better than he was previously. So he will be available this week.
And Wanye, you know yet on him?
Wanye, he's probably day to day. So I think as we get through today and tomorrow with the treatment, I think he'll be able to play.
Mike Wilson and Brent Hubbs.
Yeah, Jeremy, you guys got a little bit of a look at Mac Jones last year when he came in for Tua. How have you seen him grow since he was that backup last year, and what's impressed you most about his season so far?
Well, Mac was the scout team quarterback when I was the defensive coordinator there, and you look at him, how much he's improved in 4 years. It's real interesting. When he was the scout team quarterback, compared to 4 years later, it just shows you over time, when you're in the same system, you can continue to develop, and he's really done a nice job doing that. He came in last year and played well, and he's playing at a really, really high level right now with a lot of confidence.
Brent.
Coach, you mentioned that Kentucky hit you a couple times in the second half with the slant. The middle of the field's obviously been an issue in coverage through 4 games. How do you address that? What's the answer on cleaning up and tightening up the middle of the football field, in terms of defending the pass?
Well, I think we got to do a better job getting push up front. When you throw the ball short over the middle, it usually has to go through the 5 offensive linemen and 4 defensive linemen. So we've got to do a better job getting push in the pocket. We got to get our hands up. Got to have tighter coverage, whether we're playing them inside out or outside in. Got to do a better job disguising, so they don't know that it's there. So every coverage there's a weakness, and you have to be able to hide the weakness. You don't need them to know where it's at. So we've got to do a better job disguising also.
Vince Farrar, then David Oven.
Coach, you mentioned last week that you could use the 15 of Georgia's players to help you guys prepare and get better. And then Alabama certainly presents a lot of elite talent. When you don't have the talent on some of the elite talent on your roster to help you prepare for an opponent in those scout team situations, how do you compensate for that?
Well, first of all, there's very few teams, if any, that have elite talent on their scout team. So start with that. When I was asked that question, it was about how to prepare it in practice. Nobody that I've ever seen has talent like people are playing with their 1s and 2s on the scout team. They may have guys that have the same ability, but they don't have the same experience. There's a big difference there. So you can look at over the years. I see it every year. These guys that, whether it's their 3rd year, their 4th year, become elite players. Some of them may do it as freshmen, but lots of times, most everybody improves the longer they're in college, the longer they're in the system. So I feel like we've got some really good players here. We've got some young players. We've got to continue to grow and develop and gain some experience and really start playing a little bit better on both sides of the ball as a unit.
Jeremy, how does sort of the Jarrett that you've seen the last couple of weeks compare to the Jarrett that you've seen in practice over the last year?
Well, you go back and look. Let's just take Saturday for example. Okay, we throw an out route for an interception, right? They're playing middle of the field coverage, man to man, and we run an out route. The corner never gets in a back pedal. He just squats on the route. Well, that starts one wide receiver. We got to play with more speed. Okay, if the guy's covered, don't throw the ball. So that was a mistake in a couple areas there. We got a chance. We're throwing the ball down the field, and we got a chance to throw a check down, and we try to force a ball inside, which we shouldn't do. Okay, so there's two spots there that really hurt us. The fumble on the running back, the running back's got to avoid the quarterback there. Everybody runs RPOs. We're getting the ball out. We know that we can't run into the quarterback there, and then. When you're standing there in the pocket and you get hit from behind, the chances are, I played quarterback in high school. When you stand there and somebody hits you and you don't see them coming, there's a chance you may fumble the football. We've got to understand how our protections are, and again, it's not always on the offensive line. All right? Tight ends are tied into this, running backs are tied into this. So as a unit, we've got to do a better job of protecting the quarterback for sure.
Would you say some of those mistakes you saw on Saturday have been pretty uncharacteristic in practice, or have you seen some of that in practice?
Well, Jared's thrown very few interceptions in practice all fall camp. He's done a really nice job taking care of the football. It's why he's been our starting quarterback. He's really done a nice job taking care of the football. He's got to eliminate those mistakes, and we've got to do a better job up front collectively as a group offensively, being in more efficient third downs and protecting the quarterback, whoever the quarterback is.
Last two questions, Blake Topmeyer, then Matt Ray.
Jeremy, you said this time last week that Jared Garantano is your quarterback. Would you say that's still the case, that Jared is your quarterback?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at it, Jared didn't play his best game other night, right? But there's some other guys that didn't play their best game too. So he's going to have to go out here and earn it at practice, just like everybody else. Am I wanting to put Jarrett Garantano on the shelf? No, absolutely not. I think the guy has a lot of really good qualities about him. He's helped us win a lot of football games. Did he make a few mistakes Saturday? Sure he did. Okay, but I think everybody on our football team and in our organization all could have done better, starting with me. So this isn't about one person. It's about everybody within our program. And I think everybody within our program understands that.
What's the likelihood that you can play two quarterbacks on Saturday?
I wouldn't know that right now.
Matt, last one.
Jeremy, you mentioned on Saturday how, over the last 3 years, you've seen defenses score more touchdowns when they force a turnover on you guys than maybe your entire career. And you touched on effort. As a head coach, how do you instill that into your players that it is a big deal, that it can make a difference in a 9-6 ball game? How do you coach that up? Do you have a period of practice where you're coaching turnovers? I would imagine not. How do you instill that effort into your players as a head coach?
This fall camp, we have done more for ball security. Number one, because we knew we didn't get a lot of scrimmage time, right? So if you don't get hit as with somebody that carries the football a lot and kind of get used to it, you can be loose with the ball. So we have actually added 2 extra periods throughout the week to where it's nothing but ball security for offensive players. We always do something against the defense every day when it comes to turnover circuit, but we've actually added extra for every position for these reasons, because statistically, if you look, college football, I don't know if it's somewhere between 81 and 85%. If you do not turn the football over, you'll win somewhere in that category, that percentage of games. If you don't turn it over, and if you do turn it over, it drops drastically in a hurry. So, and it has nothing to do with how many turnovers you get defensively. It's just securing the ball offensively. So, the number one thing for our goals we put up there is the ball on both sides of the ball. So, we've got to continue to work hard at it. and we will.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you, guys.
Jeremy.